While we're doing that, I hope Mrs. Vivian, you're ready? Okay, just take the picture while you're doing that. Before I bring her to this podium to speak on the research in marine and blue economy for education, she is the Director General, Nigerian Chamber of Shipping. Let me give you a short profile about her. Vivian Chimezie Azubuike. She is the Director General of the Nigerian Chamber of Shipping, a dynamic leader, an accomplished professional with a rich background in maritime, logistics, and policy development. As the Director General of the Nigerian Chamber of Shipping, she champions initiatives to enhance Nigeria's maritime industry, driving innovation, sustainability, and global competitiveness. One of them being the convener, Women in Maritime and Shipping Conference. The Nigerian Maritime Outlook, just to mention a few. Known for our strategic vision and collaborative approach, Mrs. Vivian foster partnership between stakeholder, advancing capacity building, and regulatory reforms. Our dedication to promote maritime education, regional trade, and environmental sustainability has solidified her reputation as transformative figure in the sector. And last but not least, Vivian's leadership continues to position Nigeria as the key player in the global shipping ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mrs. Vivian Chimezie Azubuike. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, MC. I'll say good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'll stand on the already established protocol, and again also want to ride on my prof's doc's apology. To apologize for coming in later than planned. You know, there's a lot going on, and we don't feel the same day. So thank you so very much for your patience. We appreciate. All right, so we'll just go straight to this topic: research in marine and blue economy for educators. I need help, please. Thank you. Okay, so we just go straight. Introduction, why the blue economy matters. I might not have the luxury of repeating some of the things I have in my slide, because I believe they may have been captured by one or two of the speakers, because we're speaking about the same subject, habits, different perspectives. Right, thank you. So the next is why is blue economy important? No, don't be, please, let's take it back again. All right. So why is blue economy important? What's the role of educators in shaping research and knowledge, and the connection between the academia, the industry, and the policy? All right, next. All right, so of course we all know what the blue economy is about. Dr. Alban gave a very comprehensive representation of what the industry is about. So it's the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihood, and ocean health. Then what sectors? We know of the shipping, fisheries, offshore energy, tourism, biotechnology, and Dr. Alban gave even more detailed information about what the blue economy stands for. You know, all right, so let's just go to the next. So the economic growth, why is blue economy important? We have about $2.5 trillion blue economy, you know, globally captured. So we have about 2.5 trillion. It strengthens trade, shipping, fisheries, and marine tourism, just like the blue economy is. While we're talking about the marine and blue economy, and marine being a driver of the economy, it's important for us to also note that as it is, it drives the economy, and it provides more like ancillary services to so many. Dr. Temisa also mentioned, you know, how huge and the potentials that the marine and blue economy holds. Jobs and livelihood, of course, we have income of over 3 billion people worldwide. It's attached to the marine and blue economy. Then, of course, food security. Food is very important. We have a lot of protein. We have a lot of food that is embedded in the blue economy. We have different kinds and various species of edible food that is captured in the blue economy. And not only the fisheries, we also have vegetables in the water. I hope we know that we have seaweed, and seaweed is food, so it can call it an algae or whatever it is, but it provides a lot of nutrients which are attached to mineral resource, minerals. Then we have climate and regulation. Of course, the ocean absorbs about 30% of the carbon dioxide that is emitted. And that's one of the reasons why also, if we want to speak science, we have that the oceans are also going through what we call ocean acidification. So while this topic is important, it's because of the sustainable use of the marine resources. That's why they call it blue. So it's something that has to be regenerated as it were. All right, next, please. Right. So innovation and knowledge, it unlocks new solutions in renewable energy, biotech, marine tech. That has been discussed extensively, and it offers opportunities for educators and students alike. Sustainability and SDGs. Now, Dr. Orban said something. When I was listening to him, I'm like, okay, he's spoken a lot about what I had in mind. The best way to actually present our country as a country that is futuristic and forward-thinking is to align all our objectives along with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It's very, very crucial. So we are not doing things in isolation. And that's why there are a lot of laws and international conventions that are guiding some of these activities. So it's very important that we align our objectives in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sorry to say 15 of them, then we'll have an extra one. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so marine research landscape, the global research areas, climate change. There's a lot of conversations around climate change, not only in the marine environment. We're also talking about climate change as it were, as a topic. And biodiversity, the biodiversity is actually that green land, those areas that's rich in minerals, especially oil and gas. And we have a lot of that in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. So this is part of the areas of marine research. Then we have green shipping. This is very, very topical. I tell people that you usually go for use what you have to get what you want. We have a lot of conversations around the kind of fuel that would be fueling the future of maritime. That's why you see a lot of people talking about ammonia, talking about methane, people talking about, the use of natural gases, because the goal is to reduce the emission of carbon in 2050. And we can't say that we're not going to be part of it, because these are the conversations that are happening globally, the conversations that are happening around the world. So these are areas of research where we can key in. And then Nigeria and Africans contest. And then we look at pollution control. Yesterday, I saw in a video, I came across one of my social media handles, that LinkedIn, and I saw that somebody had developed something, and that is something like a sink. They put it inside water, and the sink just keeps moving in the water. I don't know what they did to suspend it, so that's the technology. But then this sink is probably floating because it's not heavy, and as it's moving, all those heavy pollutants of the water, in the water, like plastic, nylon, we're just going to the sink. So when the sink fills up, they'll just lift it up. Do you understand what I mean? So that is someone's idea, which is quite novel, to manage plastic pollution and all kinds of pollutions that are solid. Those are solid wastes. So now, this is the part of the things we're looking at. When we're looking at the marine environment, we should also be looking at marine pollution. So these are major research areas that we should be looking at, and how Nigeria can key into such research areas. And this conversation starts from the classroom. We don't have to wait until we get them to get into the university, and people start looking for courses. Honestly, there are some courses that even our curriculum in the higher institutions cannot cover. And these are things that we should be looking at deliberately so that we can key into the future of maritime, the future of shipping, and the future of marine and blue economy. So coastal erosion. We have coastal erosion, we have port efficiency, marine litter, aquaculture. Well, so for instance, since we're talking about the future of marine research and the landscape, we'll be talking about, you see that there are a lot of interest in, managing the emission of carbon. And Nigeria does not have, when you come, you hear words like smart ports, you hear words like green ports. These are novel things. These are things that are already happening, but they have become more conversational because even those that have had it in the past, they want to even improve on their technology. So these are the things we should be talking about. And these are conversations we should be having in classrooms, that would drive our ideas on how to create curriculums to fit in the future of the marine and blue economy. Next, builds capacity for future maritime. Why is research important? It's because it builds capacity for future maritime professionals. From the conversations we had, when Dr. Temison was speaking to us, I would say that irrespective of how brilliant our curriculum we feel it fits, what is important is that our curriculum should fit international demands, and Dr. Alban has also said it. So if you're talking about marine and blue economy and you're not looking at research areas that fit into the demands of International Maritime Organization, United Nations, UNCTAD, United Nations and all that, which is aligned or akin to the Sustainable Development Goals, then we are actually wasting our time. So builds capacity for future maritime professionals, shapes evidence-based teaching and curriculum. I said it that Dr. Alban has said most of the things I had in my book, in my presentation. Links classroom knowledge to real-world maritime issues. Okay, so I was privileged to go to the Regional Maritime University to speak and also to attend the launch of a technology center, And one of the things that crossed my mind was that most of those projects were made to give real-life, real-world experiences. And so before you even talk about going on for sea time, you have experienced it, You have had that opportunity to experience. Although we have a lot of people in the industry who are providing giving their vessels out for sea time, but it has been a major issue for most of our seafarers. So giving real-world maritime issues, and Dr. Alban also mentioned it. So he did 2 masters. He had the privilege of doing 2 masters, one in Nigeria and one outside Nigeria. The one outside Nigeria, he didn't waste a lot of time with classwork. He had a lot, and it was about the same time he did the masters. So what should drive our initiatives in research and building curriculum should be about real life experiences. And so that's one of the reasons why I advocate that even conversations about the marine and blue economy should start from the primary schools, because it brings some sort of awareness and consciousness on the students or children and our pupils, and they get to understand why is the world going green? Why is it good to keep dispose your plastic bottles effectively? Why it is important for us to have grasses, plantations, flowers, plants around us, because that's what we call sequestering. It takes away the carbon dioxide in that environment. And that's why anyone who's living around such, they say it's really healthy. You're breathing fresher air than someone who is living close to the port where there's a lot of emission from the ships. So these are kind of conversations that children should have, right? Because, and then it starts building their mind. And by the time the person is going to to secondary school, is shaping the mindset of that student or pupil as to what he wants to do. And then it doesn't become strange to you when you say maritime or marine, blue economy, or any other conversations around it. So it shapes a definitive career path for future maritime professionals, creates sustainable pathway for maritime as revenue generating stream for donation. I can say for free that most of the first world, the people in the first world, the countries in the first world, or called first world countries that are doing well in research are people who are being futuristic. They see the future, they see how the things are heading. And unfortunately, they're the ones that are dictating for the future. So for instance, now, while we're still getting to accept or come to grasp with what transition in shipping is all about, they are already building ships in line with what the future demands are. So while we are still doing that, they are for the next generation of seafarers. They are already doing that. I can say for free that I know that Singapore is already on a 5-year plan for seafarers in line with the demands of the industry in the next 5 years. And only have they taken that as a national conversation, they have also taken it as a deliberate way to build revenue. So now they have a lot of people coming from Europe. And now we're talking about the same Europe that is not aligned with us. So they are the ones building this, making these investments in academics, in maritime educational training institutions, in Ghana, in Kenya, and in South Africa. But we don't have so much here. So why is that so? It's because it's not something we have got at the national level. It's not something that we have approached. So most of these conversations about competency, certificate of competency, whitelist, and you look at it, the truth is that it has to come from from policy, from the national level. So those are the conversations we're talking about. Then open up partnership, academic partnership for opportunities within STEM. I just gave some examples. So when we start young, now there's STEM, science, technology, environmental math. This is the foundation of any conversation we are having around technology, because everything about the marine and blue economy is technologically different. Whether it's seabed mining, we're talking about circular economy, recycling. These are all technologically based. So how are we optimizing those opportunities? It starts from research. And you can't even research on anything if you don't identify the essence of it, isn't it? So if you look at these are things that we identify as important and essential to the growth of the marine and blue economy, and knowing that we have the human capital, because whatever we're discussing here, if it doesn't have to do with humans bringing it to pass, then we will not see the need to develop researches around it and have people to be part of it. And then I tell you, there are a lot of funding. Dr. Chimezie saying, and it's the truth. But the thing is that the white man wants to see really, what you have and how it will help your future. Once anything you have has to do with humanity, I'm sure you are going to get the funding you need. And then genuinity of purpose. I said Regional Maritime University in the past 3-4 years have had 2 institutions. They are one for oil and gas. So they are training seafarers for the oil and gas. Then you have this other one for maritime, right? Then there's another one, I don't have the details. So what they have seen is that there has been consistency in the development. They have seen real, genuine purpose that has, been made, or they've seen the result of their investment. So once we have that at the back of our mind, that really and truly this is what we want to achieve, I'm sure that we'll get partnership and support that we require. The marine renewable energy. Oh, this is a whole lot. This is a whole lot. I was telling someone that I don't believe that anyone in the north should be talking about not having energy light, because there's a whole lot of deposit of solar over there. So we should be talking about it. But we are still importing solar, a lot of solar stuff, and we need to have that funding. And like I said, if we mainstream it as national conversations, You will see funding also from the government to say, I want 5, 10 people who can work on how to develop a solar system. And when we get that, we will need to import so much. I was in Cyprus last year and I was told, and that's the truth, that I went into places, it was solar that was powering the whole place. Solar, they hardly use electricity. Solar energy, because that place was pretty hot. I was actually surprised. So we have solar, we have wind, wave, the conversion of these things to energy and all that. So even for shore power and all that, we can do that. Sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, Otaba has spoken about it, so there's no need repeating it. But I'll give instance. While I'm giving instance is that I've had this privilege to move around a little. I was in Ghana. That same Ghana I was listening to the local news. And there was an announcement by the Minister for Fisheries that they will stop fishing that season at that point and give time for the fishes to grow. So what is doing is sustainable fishing. So the fish cannot, when you go, you bring fingerlings and kill them. And they have no nutritional value because they are not matured. And then they are selling it for cheap prices. Doesn't make sense. So they stopped fishing for a time and they are to resume later in the year on the following year. So these are part of the conversations we'll be having even at the grassroots level. So we have our fishermen that are in the sea all the time. So they are fishing around the coastal areas. But then they have people who are fishing beyond that, aside the unreported fishing and all that. We also have to manage the one that we have around us. I moved into the marine area because I went to the Upper Volta, that area. And that conversation, when I heard it was like, oh, wow, wonderful. So these are national, and nobody's going to go to the water except after the date has elapsed. So this, and how did they come to that conversation at the policy table? There was research. And that's why there's a need for integration between the academia and the policymakers. Now, sustainable fisheries, aquaculture, ocean governance, and maritime law, it's all part of it. Then marine technology, digitalization, and AI. I made a joke the other day and someone was talking about, oh, do you have automation? I said, no, we don't really have automation. What we have is automated. So automation is having the process go back to back. It's a free process of allowing it to work. But you want people who want to intervene in the process. That's automated. So when it gets here, you say, no, you have to come to this table and stamp. By the time, if we continue like that in the next 5 years, while we're still crying foul, about how we have lost our place as a marine nation in Africa, we will have a lot to cry about. But I hope we don't get to that point. Because the truth is that, and then importantly, I didn't add here, is data collection. You can't even talk about research without data. And that's one of the biggest challenges we have, even in our academic institution. Do we all agree? Like, you want to go on research, but you don't have enough information because there's no data. So that we should start building the data. We should start learning to keep data. And it has even become easier because AI can help. Automation processes are involved where you keep something, you pick your information, and it's recorded without any interference. But then we need to get to that point where data helps us for research, and then the interpretation of data also. Then the use of marine resources for food. Please go to the next. Next, I think I'm almost done. All right, so I mentioned in there data on the presentation of local scholars in global research. I said that because most times you'll be amazed. The people that will give you information you need, like if you go to the coastal communities, are the people who their forefathers were fishermen. They will tell you stories that you can help you. They are the ones that will give you that information you need for research. But sometimes we ignore them, right? And sometimes, when you want to draft policies, you say you've got a consultant. What is the capacity of this consultant? What is his forte? What is his strength? What's that? So it's not just about it, but getting the people who are part of that ecosystem to be part of your research will give you the best result for your research and help you to develop a better hypothesis. Now, need for general inclusion and youth participation. Gender. Well, I will not speak much on gender. I think women are doing a lot. Then I'll just strengthen the one on youth participation because we have a youth population and they have a lot. And the youth have the grace and the strength. So There's a lot that we could do with them. Under-representation of coastal communities. I said that before, under-representation. Then non-inclusivity of local communities in real-time natural and artisanal research experience. Next, please. Okay, so mentor students in maritime focus studies. I think a lot has been spoken about it. Curriculum has been discussed, so I wouldn't dwell on that. Encourage interdisciplinary collaboration. I've mentioned that. Engage with industry for applied research. Industry for applied research. Integrate sustainability themes into coursework. Sustainability themes into coursework. Because most times when we talk about research, we just want to reproduce what we have because it makes it easy. But I think there's a lot of conversations about what the future of the marine and blue, because marine and blue economy is actually the future of maritime, like the future of shipping. That's why it's gradually taking away the name shipping. So because it is all encompassing, it talks about everything, SDG 40, everything about the water. And so we start talking about sustainability. You can't even discuss it without how to reproduce it for the next future, the next generation. Then restructure academic modules to include hands-on practical experience on maritime-related pursuits. Then certification. I said certification over degree. I'll tell you that. Why I said that. I want to dwell on that for like a minute. The reason is this. Most of the times when you go, you see these seafarers, some of them can't even express themselves fully in that English, that is the general language. But they are the ones that are accepted. Why? Because they've had first-hand experience in that skill. It is skill over degree. It's skill over degree. I'll give an instance. When you want to talk about some of these divers, there are people who are used to, there are some coastal communities where you give birth to a child, you throw the child in water and say, if you survive, you are here, you're part of us. Do you understand? So imagine that child who has been swimming since 3 years and has been swimming from the river into the creeks and can swim into the ocean, and then bring someone who read how to dive as a diploma in the Polytechnic. I'm saying this for real. I have friends who are seafarers or ladies. I ask, can you say, I cannot swim? But that is a major criteria. Because when the ship goes on the ground, how do you escape? And that's why we have casualties. But those people are part of, they are on board the vessels. So do you understand what I mean? So this certification is just to help refine the skill that the person already has. There's some people that can sit here now, they can't tell you how they can manufacture something, and it just comes as a God-given talent. You need to upskill and refine. So the person doesn't, so I'm looking at fair, opportunities. You don't say this person because you didn't go to university, you are not fit for this. Do you know, some of us here are very, very well traveled. They know that if you know how to get this job done, that's what the white man wants. And they are paying so much. And the youths are also taking advantage of it. That's why you might not even go to school, but you might know how to do Python, IU, IX, UX, all those programming languages and all that. And you're very well paid. You're paid better than someone who went to university to do computer science. I beg you, please, you have a child in computer science in university, please, just put the person out and give the person certification. I'm saying this, I know it sounds funny, but that's the truth. For 3 years, 2 years of hands-on experience in whatever kind of programming that child wants to do would do the child good than sitting in university and do 4 or 5 years of computer science, especially in Nigeria. Right? Okay. Then partnerships to strengthen skill and refine them. Then practical steps for educators. Establish research clubs and student projects. Please, let's encourage it. I went to my choice school and I asked the principal, I said, where's library time here? I said, no, Oga, you need to put library. There should be time for students to do research on their own. They do not need to sit in class back to back. I know the curriculum has changed over the years, but please, if a child can get into the library, you have your module or whatever, your lesson notes, what you're teaching from. You may not even have the strength to do so much research than a child who walks in, picks in one scientific book and starts discovering a lot of things. But because he doesn't have the opportunity to go into the library to read, he might not have that opportunity at all to learn. So it's very important that we have research clubs and student projects that can be reviewed by us, by the teachers or the tutors. Publish in maritime, okay? Then partner with international organizations. I mentioned that before. There are a lot. There are small pockets of partnership grants that are given. $2,000, £3,000, all that, use it for, advocate for funding and policy support, advocate for integration of maritime. I think I've discussed a lot on this, and Dr. Alban also. Is that the last slide? All right, so that's the call to action. Research is the bridge between knowledge and innovation. So while you're learning, you put it to work. We want to see, all right, that educators are the catalyst for sustainable blue economies. Our educators, even those that are in the maritime universities, they are also called educators. Then encourage curiosity. It helps to encourage curiosity, critical thinking, collaboration, technological advancements, and sustainable future for the next generation. That should be the last. Thank you.